Welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast, where we talk with the people behind the current events and breakthroughs in brain implants in an understandable way, helping bring together various fields involved in neuroprosthetics. Here is your host, Laden Neurotech.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast. Today's guest is Dima Gazda of Esper Bionics, and they have a prosthetic arm that gains abilities over time with you, and it's functional, convenient, and anatomical. And basically, they have a way to interact with the body, basically myo EMG, and using the signals from the muscles to be able to control it, but it looks really cool, really fancy, and I really like it. So from my preliminary research, I think it's really fancy. So Dima, pleasure to have you on the show. Do you want to introduce yourself better than I just did?
Thank you, Alvin. Thank you for having me here. So I'm CEO and founder at Esper Bionics. I'm a medical doctor, electronic engineer by background, and a serial entrepreneur. That's my fourth company.
Oh, wow. Fourth company. So actually real fast, what were your other companies?
I have started entrepreneurship 12 years ago. And the first companies, it was a furniture company. Second was a company with small hardware devices. Then was a company with interior objects. And then Esper Bionics.
Okay, very cool. So you said you have a medical background. So what inspired you to make this arm, and what is it? Can you describe it a little bit?
Our products right now, we have long-term plan that includes as a first step few robotic prostheses, and our first product is a robotic prosthetic hand. It's faster and more precise in control.
Okay. Sounds good. And so basically people who have lost an arm, amputation or something like this, they're able to put this on and be able to manipulate the world, whatever they need to do. And so what's the advantages of your device versus somebody else's other devices that are currently on the market?
Definitely that it learns over time. It is faster in control, up to 3 times faster. That it is one of the lightest hands, and is completely fit in anatomical shapes.
Okay. So how did you get into this? This sounds very interesting. It sounds like maybe you would need a very good reason to develop a prosthetic arm like this. Maybe you were inspired somehow with friends or family or something, or your research. So yeah, how did this come about?
Yeah, we have started this with, first of all, we have understood it was on purpose research what technology stack will impact humanity and what will help humanity the most. And we bet that will be electronic implants, electronics that will be inside human bodies. And we understand that community of users of large wearables will be birthplace of many types of electronic implants. And right now, few industries with large wearable devices, there are low tech. Core such industry is prosthetic industry. The companies that will transform the prosthetic industry, bring here IoT architecture, bring modern digital signal processing methods. That company will have advantage in electronic implants, because all that big wearables, they will be chargers, data receivers, and data processors for electronics inside human bodies. So this way, starting here, we are going step by step to electronic implants, and we are going there to make huge impact.
Okay, so you see this, that's actually very interesting, because this seems almost like a more difficult pathway. A prosthetic arm is something that's very complicated, and with all the fingers, you have many degrees of freedom. And so basically you're starting almost like you're saying with the easy path, and then going into implantable, starting from this wearable, complicated thing to an implantable. Yeah, that's very interesting. So what is more difficult than a prosthetic arm that has many degrees of freedom?
What is more difficult? See, right now, let's start from electronic implants. And when people talk about electronic implants, usually they talk about some kind of BCIs. BCI is near up to 30% of all implementations of electronic implants. We can upgrade not only our thinking abilities, but we can upgrade not only brain, we can live longer, we can eliminate many kinds of diseases, we can be less tired during the day, and etc. Electronic implants is a huge technology stack. There are technologies for everywhere on the Earth. There are technologies for space, and there are technologies for inside human bodies. It's like three huge technology stacks. And the third one, it's the most important technology stack of that century and further centuries. And it is just starting right now. And this technology stack, like no company in the world have enough expertise right now to build devices, reliable devices. Few companies are close to this, and like the class of devices that will send some information from inside body systematically to external devices. Few companies are very close to this. Some certifications, that's an obstacle for them, but that's the simplest devices. And there will be much more complicated devices, and no company in the world have enough expertise for this. And this expertise will be gained in communities of users of large wearables. So the companies that starts with large wearables, different large wearables, not only prosthetic hands, but legs, some kinds of exoskeletons, etc. This company will have advantage in development of that technology stack. And that technology stack is way more complicated than movable robotic hand. So therefore, I think that we start from simple device, relatively simple.
Okay, sounds good. So do you want to describe the device? How does it work? And then you said it learns along with you. So how does that work as well?
So the device itself, for now, it is controlled by EMG. We detect which muscle exactly was activated in forearm or shoulder, in the residual part of the limb, and use this information to do different calls to action, to make different commands for the hand itself. Over time, this control improves because the hand understands situations, as it understands more and more user behavior. That happens because periodically our cloud platform gets data from the hand, sees in which conditions which grip was preferred by user, and updates control algorithm. That learning over time leads to improvement of control.
Interesting. So does that improvement of control work only for that single user, or you said it synchronizes with the cloud platform? So maybe what one device learns from one user, it could maybe spread to the rest of the devices theoretically and improve all of the devices? Does it work like that or not at this moment?
There is an individual component, and there is a component that can be used for improvement of control of other users. Yes, you are right.
Okay, very cool. How did you found the company, and do you want to talk a little bit about your genesis? And I believe you guys started in Ukraine and got a device competition there, won a device competition there. But when we talked earlier, you're in Berlin now. So what's the timeline of everything?
We have started as team of 5 3 years ago. We won one engineering competition. This the strongest engineering competition in Ukraine. Then, it took 1 year to make MVP. Then, in half a year after this, we got our first investment. Before this, I was the only investor of Esper Bionics. So I'm not talking with you from New York. We have here a headquarters. In Berlin, we have our R&D facilities. In Ukraine also. But in Ukraine, like most of our Ukrainian team is in Germany right now because of the war. Right now, we are finishing our assembly line in Berlin, and we are doing our clinical activity in New York area.
Okay. Very cool. So relatively new, but it seems you guys have had good growth and momentum. And then obviously 3 offices, Ukraine, Germany, and New York as well. Yeah, so I guess we have to talk about this. There's the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So how has that affected you guys being in Ukraine?
We had to relocate our facilities to another city. We had to relocate most of Ukrainian team in European Union. We still are distracted by news. Luckily, our families are safe or relatively safe. Oh, luckily, we have previous or even more intense pace right now of R&D and business activity. Maybe that's kind of stress situation. We are out of comfort zone, and all the teammates are more proactive. We feel this. We are a team of 20 right now. 16 are Ukrainians originally. So yeah, we are still distracted by news, and some teammates are trying to volunteer, and we think that one of our duties is to help after the war to many people who will need our help by our product.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that has happened in the U.S. DARPA, the Defense Research Branch of the Army, has funded a lot of these kind of prosthetic devices, prosthetic arms for soldiers coming back from war, and maybe they had some kind of explosion or something like this, lost the arm. In this case, it's bad to say, but this war could even be good, and it could be good business. So have you had any agreements with any governments, maybe a Ukrainian government or something like this, and maybe even now, starting now, to be able to rehabilitate some soldiers that may have already been injured?
So we have right now negotiations. Yes, we have plans, like we have got requests. We are negotiating right now on details. Right now, it's not fast process. When someone got injured, it should take, not because of bureaucracy or because of like our manufacturing abilities, but because of biological reasons. The huge wounds, they should be healed before any installation of prosthesis.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, it's a triage situation where the people, that are bleeding out, they need to be there. And then the less important prosthetic arm, I want to be able to eat an apple by myself with my left arm instead of my right arm. Those can wait a little bit longer. So that's definitely understandable. So Dima, what are some of your biggest challenges right now in Esper Bionics?
Right now, right now it is hiring, finishing our sampling line, preparing next batch of users for installation. That's the challenges. Hiring right now is takes a lot of time for research, and we've got a lot of help from recruiters, but not enough. That's distracting.
Really? So you guys are in such a good situation, even with a team of 20 people, that you feel you need to hire more? Why especially, or what kind of people are you looking for? And then why is it difficult to find those people?
Well, difficult because we are working with strongest engineers. And therefore, that's why one of the reasons we have several offices and international team. And it takes time to find the best. And yeah, all of this right now are engineering.
Definitely finding good engineers that are talented and have expertise. One, for a startup especially, one extremely talented engineer could be worth 10 or 20, and they could really make or break the company. So, hey guys, just a quick pause to talk about our show sponsor, Iris Biomedical. Iris Biomedical provides a portfolio of neural sensing and simulation platforms and components to accelerate early-stage medical device companies through preclinical and early feasibility studies. Iris is an ideal partner for companies with limited budgets or resources to invest in developing a new platform from the ground up. Their experienced engineering team, in-house cleanroom facilities, and ISO 13485 certified quality management system allow for prototyping and early-stage commercial production. Be sure to tell them you heard about it on the Neural Implant Podcast. That'll really help us out. Thanks. Now, back to the show. Yeah, this is very interesting. So do you have any timelines? Do you have any ideas of maybe future breakthroughs and ideas of when things will be on the market and kind of a rough timeline of when things will be more available, your products and everything like that?
Our product is already in the US markets. We are just working with close group of people. I think the expansion phase where people can easily buy our product if they need will be till the end of autumn.
Okay. Wow. So it does seem like you guys are moving pretty fast. And so will you be sticking with this product, the bionic arm, for some time? Or you said you were going to pivot to something else later on. What does that kind of look like for you?
Yeah, that is not pivots. That is, we just are building kind of ecosystem, and we need more products for this. A robotic hand is a good product to start with, but next will be the control system, and next will be a small exoskeleton device or robotic leg.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, this is very exciting stuff. And have you heard about the Cybathlon in Switzerland? This sounds like something that would be very apt that they would very much enjoy over there.
Yeah, for sure. We have got invitation, and we had planned to participate, but we had disruption with all the situation here.
And then Dima, you were talking about basically the amount of lives improved that you can do with being a medical doctor versus designing these kind of medical devices. Do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Thoughts have started from simple idea of impact points. Let's image some physician that has 10 patients a day, and he can make a diagnosis, write recipe, and say bye. Or he can try to help somehow more to make some suggestion about adjustment lifestyle, give a hint about like amount of salt or oil patient eats, something else. And 9 of 10 patients will not care about his advice, but one will be slightly impacted and will live slightly more. Not 70 years, but 71. And if to count during 10 years of usual work, this doctor will create from nowhere 3,000 years of life. So he was working same time with other doctors, but has slightly different approach, tried to help people. And after this, I was fascinated about the number itself. And I've tried to find research different ways to help people and how many years of life it is possible to create. And I've took like years of life kind of impact points. And I found out that doctor is limited by his time, but engineering and entrepreneurship can lead to creation of something that can impact millions of lives. A medical device can impact human beings. And the technology stack that will have the biggest impact on humanity, that will eliminate a lot of diseases, create new abilities, fulfill and prolong lives one day of billions of people. This is technology stack of electronic implants, some devices that will be inside our bodies and will improve functionality of organs, different organs. It's not only about BCIs, but we can improve our body in very different ways. Then we've tried to find the way to get the needed expertise for most of electronic implants, and found out that the birthplace of these devices will be communities of users of large wearables, especially assistive devices, and especially in prosthetics. And prosthetic industry today is outdated. The companies that will transform it, make it data collective, bring here devices that will be chargers, data receivers, and data processors for electronic implants. That company will have advantage in development of electronic implants and will be faster in that field. So therefore, we have started here, and therefore we have started with our first data collective product, that is robotic prosthetic hand. And it is better, and by software advantage and by hardware advantage right now.
Yeah, that's really cool. And actually, for our listeners, we're re-recording this episode because we wanted to get this part in. And I think this was really interesting because this is exactly the same way I feel. Is being a doctor, you're of course helping, but you can only help so much. But by leveraging that, you can help a lot more people by what you were saying, entrepreneurship and engineering, kind of multiply that, scale that out much better. And yeah, I think it's very important also on top of that to be able to get very good at something and then move higher and higher to affect more and more people. Like Facebook started only in Harvard, and then it went to Ivy League schools, and then it went to universities, and then before finally going to everybody. I think if you start treating everybody in the beginning, then it's too broad, and you'll never get the market penetration that you need. So yeah, this is very interesting that you're first going after this prosthetic arms and then going after other types of prosthetics. What I guess in 10 years, maybe philosophically speaking, let's maybe get philosophical here. What's the game-changing thing in 10 years that's going to be, oh my God, this has completely changed humanity. This, to use your way of thinking, is like, this has added 1 billion years of human longevity to the world. So what is that thing that's adding 1 billion years?
The biggest number of people and the device that will create more impact points. And this is, for example, third part of humanity died and will die from strokes and heart attack. And most of Earth will lose some functionality during life because of these problems. And it is possible to create a device that will monitor state of heart and brain and release medicaments of first aid. It will prevent like heart and brain from partial necrosis, and there will be much less loss of functionality and much lower chance to die. So that will create 3, 5, maybe 7 years of life for a third part of humanity inevitably. So I like this practical device that will not create huge extra abilities, but will just prevent this problem of our body, weakness of our body. It will be vaccination against so huge threat for our bodies.
So you're imagining that somebody would have this prophylactically implanted, so like they don't need it yet, but as a preventative measure, they would have this implanted, and then it would prevent it?
All groups of risks, one day will get that kind of devices. It will be like small capsule. It's not the device that monitor what we think about or exchange some information with a machine about our behavior itself. It is just monitor of state of heart and body and brain, just as organs. So to keep them in good functional condition.
Okay, so it'd be like one device that would rule them all, Lord of the Rings style, where one device would have control over many parts of the body, or maybe not all of them, but many, and be able to send and receive, the information from this. And so it would be a universal device that would be able to help the person. Is this kind of what you're imagining?
I imagine maybe someday it will be like this, but what I imagine, the list of 100 main threats for our body, and the ways how electronics and software can solve or help to eliminate these threats. And that will be different devices for different cases at start. Maybe some devices will then come together, but I don't think that all of them will be together.
Okay. But that sounds like a big ask, like basically telling somebody like, hey, would you do that? Would you have something implanted into your body that maybe you don't use and maybe it helps you, maybe it doesn't, maybe even 10, 20 years before you need it? That seems a little bit risky.
It is for sure. Market penetration will be harder. But when that 30% that your parents during next 20 years will die from heart attack or stroke. And for example, that parents, some of them, or some relatives had already heart attack. And the next heart attack there are huge chances of next heart attack. And it is much better to have inside very small, tiny device that will absolutely not impact your lifestyle and etc., but will just prevent you from the next heart attack. So groups of huge risk will be the first initial group of users for sure. And then step by step, it will be mainstream. Like it will be absolutely fine to have this thing inside you, and you can get rid of it if you want any day.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds, I don't know, it sounds like it would be very difficult for clinical trials. You'd have to wait 10 years or whatever to see if it does improve this. But I like it. I like this kind of way of thinking. You haven't really talked about it, but I think this is maybe the next generation of things, and that maybe the next technological revolution is moving away from pharmaceutical drugs that flood your entire body with some kind of chemical and replace it with some kind of neurostimulator that, is able to target something and to be a little bit more effective in a time sensitive or time targeted manner, as well as a location targeted manner. Yeah, I think this is very interesting. What do you think? What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think so. I think there will be huge changes in lifestyle of people all over the earth, and that technology stack will have how huge changes the humanity had with cars, with computers, and I think that changes that we will have with this kind of technology stack that will include also BCIs will be much bigger. And it's hard right now to imagine all the opportunities we will face.
Okay, very cool. What about if you had a magic wand and you could change one thing, what would you change in this field or in your company or whatever?
I would eliminate all weapons of Russia. And the second, I would educate, heal, and feed, just to help with some main problems of humanity. After this, I would go for problems of our Mother Earth, like this.
Yeah, that's understandable. Dima, I think this has been very interesting and a nice little glimpse into your company and your product. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention?
I don't have any specific topic prepared.
Maybe just that you're hiring engineers, and if people are interested, that they should apply. And if people apply, would they work remotely or come to New York or Ukraine, or what would they have to do?
So we are looking right now for engineers with different kinds of full stack software and hardware guys, just to start few parallel R&Ds. And we are looking for clinical guys who had expertise in prosthetic industry. If you had expertise in prosthetic industry, would like to, if you like what we are doing in Esper Bionics, write me.
Excellent. And I'll have your email in the show notes so people can find that and reach out to you. Dima, this has been great. I thank you so much for coming on the show, and I wish you luck in your company.
Thank you. Thank you, London.
Hope you enjoyed the show and were able to learn something new, bringing together different fields in novel ways. Until next time on the Neural Implant Podcast.